Hey, this is Brian Goulet of the Goulet Pen Company and InkNouveau.com. I want to show you how to troubleshoot and replace the piston seal O-ring in the Noodler's Ahab Flex Pen. The original batch of these pens comes with one type of O-ring. There's an available replacement O-ring for these pens. Now, there's nothing specifically wrong with the O-ring that comes with the pens, but Nathan, the guy who designed the pens, came up with an improved O-ring design. He wasn't able to implement it in the first batch of pens before they came to release, but he does offer the O-ring separately, and I believe he is going to have these new O-rings on future batches of the Ahab Flex pens. But anyway, let me go ahead and show you how to take this pen apart and replace this O-ring and show you what the difference is between the old one and the new one. Here is the Noodler's Ahab Flex pen. I chose the clear one because it's easiest for you to see. It's called a clear demonstrator, and it's exactly what I'm going to be doing here today. Is I'm going to be demonstrating how to replace the O-ring seal on this piston. Now, this is technically called a piston filling mechanism, but it's more specifically a piston plunger, rather than what you might be used to with your typical screw type piston. This has a plunger, so basically you just push it up and down to fill the pen. It has a little feeding tube in there, and it will suck ink up through the nib and into the body of the pen. Now, the O-ring that comes with this pen is just your conventional round O-ring. Okay, you can pick one up at any hardware store, and I think the reason behind Nathan designing that O-ring was so that you could replace it easily on your own. But the one tendency that O-ring has, because it's a really tight fit in here, when you first go to use it, you may find that it's kind of sticking a little bit. So that first time, it comes in the up position when you get the pen new. If you take it and twist it a little bit away from you, just like that, that kind of breaks the initial seal that, that O-ring's been sitting there with the silicone grease for a little while by the time you get it. If you break that and then you can kind of move it down, then you're going to be in good shape. And it is easier once you get ink in the pen. It doesn't want to stick quite as much, but it does have a tendency to stick just a little bit. So in Nathan's quest to have the best pen possible for the money, he designed a different O-ring, which I have right here. Okay, at Goulet Pens, we have these O-rings available separately. Nathan has told us that in future batches of the O-ring or of the pens, these O-rings will come standard on the pens, but for the first release of these Ahab Flex pens, they have just the standard type O-ring. So the whole pen just basically screws apart. I've been kind of fiddling with it as I've been talking here. So basically the cap just threads right onto the body. So you unthread the cap to take it off. You hold onto the grip section, and then you can unthread the body right off of the grip section of the pen. And then to get to the guts of the pen, you can just unscrew that, which also has an O-ring seal to keep the ink where you want it to be. There you can see the little feeding tube. And then here is where all the work is going to be done. Okay, so the way to take this thing apart, all you got to do is go counterclockwise to take this little black cap off, and then the whole plunger you can just take and push it right out of the filling part of the pen. Okay, so it has a conventional O-ring, just a round O-ring set on here, and what we're going to replace it with is a double wall O-ring, which, excuse my fingers for being so gross, but I will show you the difference between the two. Okay, so you got a regular round O-ring that's on the pen, and you're going to replace it with a double wall O-ring. The concept behind the double wall is that rather than having just a single point of contact with the O-ring where it kind of pushes the silicone grease out of the way to keep the thing greased up and moving smooth, the double wall O-ring allows the silicone grease to sit in between the two raised parts of the O-ring so that there's always a thin bead of silicone grease to keep the pen functioning smoothly. So that's the concept. Now, this thing, when you start to take it off, it is a little bit of a bear to be able to get this thing off. You kind of just have to do whatever you feel that you have to do to get it off. Now, I looked around I didn't want to use any special tools. I did find with my fingers that my fingernails are just too soft, and I don't have the right fingers to be able to get this thing off with just my fingers. So I looked around for one of the most conventional and available tools possible, the paper clip. Okay, now you want to be careful. You don't want to scratch your pen or whatever. Use your best judgment. If you're not comfortable using a paper clip, search around for something that you are comfortable using. But I find the best way to get this thing off is to take and hold the piston rod firmly in your hand, and then take the two sides of the O-ring. First off, wipe off all the silicone grease because you want to be able to get a good grip on this thing. Take and grab the two sides of the O-ring and push it up so that it raises one little part of the O-ring. Like you can see right there, it's kind of raising up. And then I take the paper clip and insert it underneath just like so. So I've got it kind of hooked under there. And then I can just pull the thing right off. Okay, nice and easy. It took me a good 5 minutes to figure that out, but I find it's a way that, you know, it doesn't really hurt the O-ring, it doesn't really hurt the pen, and then you're good to go to replace it. So you can look on here and you can see it's got this little inset where the O-ring is ready to sit in there. The double wall O-ring tends to want to flip on you when you get it in here. It is rubber, so it does take a little finagling. Okay, there's a perfect example of what I wanted to show you will probably happen the first time you try it. It's not a perfect double wall seal. The thing is kind of flipped around on me a little bit. What I want to do here is I want to take and I want to tuck in. Basically what's happened is I've slid the O-ring on, but it's gone over a little too far and it's not set in all the way right here. So I just want to kind of take my fingernail and just go in here and push it in place so that the O-ring will seat properly. And it may take you a minute to figure out which way the O-ring needs to be oriented to fit in here properly, but once you figure that out, you'll see that the double wall will start to appear. There you go. And that's what I'm shooting for. A nice even double wall on the O-ring, and when you put it into the mechanism, it should look like such, where you can see that there's the two edges of the O-ring are touching, and that is a very well seated O-ring right there. Now I'm not quite ready to go. I do want to take a little bit of silicone grease and go ahead and grease this thing up, which I forgot to grab before the video. So bear with me, I'm gonna wrestle around a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so I got some silicone grease. This is the stuff that we carry. It's 100% pure silicone grease. You can also find this stuff at most home centers and plumbing stores. Do not get silicone caulk. That will cause you all kinds of problems. You want the grease. Okay, so then you've got your double walled O-ring here, and you just take the silicone grease and you spread a little bit on the O-ring itself. Now you don't need to get too crazy with it. You're really just trying to get a good bead of it on the inside of that double wall. Okay, and then you just take your piston rod, drop it into the larger section, the threaded section of the inkwell here, whatever you want to call it. It'll go in here, and now I've got a good bead of silicone inside, and this thing is going to operate nice and smoothly for a good long time. Now you can always take it out and re-grease it over time. As far as the O-ring actually wearing out, oh my gosh, it's going to be forever before that happens. You'll probably do some, you'll probably move on and have another pen by that point, but it is made to be easily manageable and replaceable. And then you can just screw the whole pen back together like so, and you will be all set with your new double wall O-ring for the Noodler's Ahab Flex pen. I hope that clears some things up for you. If you have any questions about the Ahab Flex pen or anything else, you can always email me at brian@gouletpens.com. Thanks, and right on.